Right now on Tech Radio, what's the one word that you always think of when you think of data centers?
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online, we bring you the latest in tech from around Ireland and across the world. This week, money has been sarcastically well spent as a report on data centres fails to state the bleeding obvious. There's bad news for Dublin Tech as TikTok plans to let go 300 staff, and we look at the world's fastest EV scrappage scheme. Plus, we'll find out why the time is right for extended reality on our streets with our guest Stephen Barnes of the Walton Institute.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining us as always, our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. Niall, your world is rocked as a gamer this week. Tell me why.
Well, not just mine, gamers around the world. There is angst and confusion and a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. Basically, we are being reintroduced to the concept of I have bought a digital product. Do I own it? From 2028, Sony will be making their games on the PlayStation digital only. So you won't be able to buy physical discs in the shops. I think it's a good time to go and buy up as many discs as possible. It is a good time to identify some games libraries online, of which there are a few. I just kind of want to give a shout out to this. I think the prevailing wisdom is if you buy a digital product, you don't own the product, you own a license to use it. And this is what's going to happen with games.
That has happened with, I think it's Amazon are removing certain movies from the library because the license has expired. And this includes people who have bought them as in, would you like to buy the movie? Yes. Oh, sorry, not in our library anymore. Off you go.
Yeah.
That's the danger. But is there going to be a case with the games that you can download the game onto your machine and at least you own the downloaded copy? Or is it a case that you can only play it as an online game?
Well, I have heard people online saying, do you know what? I was able to download my files from my game of choice onto my PC via another platform, and things have worked out quite well there so far. Basically, though, I mean, you're going to have to either be shifty or just draw a line under your days of being a PlayStation user. Now, you know, this is not to say that the same thing isn't going to happen with Xbox, which is something that's particularly disturbing to retailers. But, you know, PC gamers have had Steam and the world has not imploded. So there are options out there. But anyway, let's draw a line under that very quickly.
All right, let's move on to data centers and a big report this week, which left out a keyword.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe this when I read. I mean, this is bike shed levels of incompetence. I don't need to explain that reference. But you commission a report about data centers. You get a report back. You've commissioned one of the big four consulting houses, KPMG. They send you a report back. They've actually done a draft. They've done a presentation. They've done a final report. The whole thing cost about €105,000, saying, hey, data centers, good thing for the economy, good thing for creating jobs. Not necessarily. What's the one thing it didn't mention? The effects on the national grid and utilities for the rest of us. I mean, come on.
They didn't mention electricity.
I mean, you know, if you were doing a leaving cert essay on this, if you were doing a past leaving cert essay on this, one of the things you mention is, by the way, they're not great for the electricity grid, the water supply, noise pollution, and light pollution. That's why so many of them are either in depressed areas or in remote areas.
Because nobody wants them. I mean, this is a big thing. I mean, it's a big thing in Ireland. It's a big thing in the States as well, where nobody wants a data center nearby because it sucks up all of the electricity and it also sucks up the water.
There is a fantastic video online of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez grilling somebody from the data center industry, and she had taken a sample of tap water from a couple who lived near a data center, and their water went from being pristine to being just muck. And, she just held up a jar of this stuff and said, look, your data centers did this. Do you think your data center doesn't have an environmental footprint?
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the stage where, 21% of all the electricity in Ireland is used by data centers. That's half of all the electricity used in Ireland, which is, the same amount used by homes, is what I'm trying to say. The UN has called us a cautionary tale because of it. Can we have just a government that's not asleep at the wheel on this stuff?
It's bananas.
Please.
It's banana. Well, yeah. Do you really want to open that Pandora's box? No, let's not. Let's talk about Meta, because their share price it's gone through the roof. It's going for the moon. It's up 7%, which I suppose really in stock market terms is a big, big jump. Why is it going up? What are Meta doing all of a sudden that's cool?
It's doing well because they've turned something into something else. Basically, and I'm in polite company, Dusty, so I won't say what they've turned into what. Basically, Meta found themselves with a lot of spare compute capacity. Why do they have spare compute capacity? Well, I guess somebody isn't using all that compute for AI that they thought they should be. So they've got all this spare capacity. What have they done? They've decided, hey, let's get into cloud services. We can make use of this infrastructure that we are not making use of whatsoever. It's almost like you remember Allbirds, that shoe brand that's very popular in San Francisco. They decided, we're getting out of shoes, we're getting into chips. We're not going to be called Allbirds, we're going to be called New Birds AI, and we're going to get into artificial intelligence. It has nothing to do with our core product, but their share price went up and people love the idea. And this is it. Cloud services are not what Meta does, but they've discovered that, hey, let's just pivot this extra stuff into it, and let's see the share price doing, because there is one other company that is doing very well out of selling its compute power to another AI company. Would you happen to guess which one?
Tell me.
XAI is making a bundle out of Anthropic on a monthly basis to handle its compute.
I didn't realize that. I know they're all selling to each other and stuff like that, so I didn't know exactly which one. That's interesting that Meta are making something out of nothing. Also, Meta making news this week, be it the WhatsApp application.
Via the WhatsApp. God, you sound like such a boomer, Dusty.
Thank you. Do you know what? Yes, I didn't sleep well last night. I am very tired. All right, so that's anyway. Listen, they're just doing. I think it's something dumb, and they're rolling it out on WhatsApp, and they're hoping everybody will get very excited about it. I'm not in the slightest bit excited about it. Tell us.
Well, I mean, the main barrier to setting up an account on WhatsApp, and this was a legacy thing because it was always this way before Facebook bought it, was that you had to have a mobile phone number. Now you don't. All you need is a username, which, of course, you can align your WhatsApp with your Instagram and with your Facebook account if you are so inclined. But perhaps as important, you can reserve the username of your choice in your WhatsApp account right now. So if you already have an account and you think, well, jeepers, I'd very much like to be Dusty Rhodes at WhatsApp instead of putting in my phone number or whatever, you can do that now. You just go into your profile and there's an option there to tap to reserve a username for you.
Right. Now, firstly, I've got bad news for you, Niall. Firstly, you can't be Dusty Rhodes. And secondly, I can't be Dusty Rhodes because I did kind of, oh God, yeah, whatever. I'll just pick my name as a username. And I went, no, sorry, can't. So I just went, well, why? Why would I bother? Do you know what I mean? It's actually kind of an interesting thing. There was an interesting article about this saying that as a society, what we're doing is we're using the same username across all of our applications, which makes us really easy to find. Okay. And now that's a good thing, but that's also like a bad thing if you value your privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, interesting. So no, I'm not bothered with WhatsApp. I actually think it's an advantage with WhatsApp that you do have to have a telephone number, and people do need to know your telephone number before they can contact you on WhatsApp, because it cuts out an awful lot of the CRAP.
Yeah.
I find. So, no, I'm not excited about it in any way. I'm not getting yippity doo dah or anything like that. One thing where it would be of interest would be, can you set up a WhatsApp account on your laptop without having it on a phone at all?
Well, you can only have WhatsApp on one device, right? So if you decide, okay, I want it on my PC or I want it on my Mac, that's fine.
You can use it on several now. You sound like a boomer. right back at you.
I sound like a Zoomer. I mean, who uses WhatsApp? What is this WhatsApp of what you speak? I'm back to using text messages.
There you go. I use WhatsApp on my computer all the time because it's just so much easier to type than on the mobile phone. But it's on the phone as well,
Oh, okay. I thought you could only have it on one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm just thinking, for I'm thinking on a business side of things, because a lot of businesses have business accounts and stuff like that. But that's also tied to a number. But you can use it on a radio stations, when they say WhatsApp us, they're not sitting there with a phone beside the audio desk or anything like that. It's an app that they are running on the PC in the studio.
Yeah.
So anyway, it'd be interesting. Anyway, that's the latest, greatest thing. Do you know what? It must be summer if the most exciting thing going on in the world is you can choose your own WhatsApp username. Duh.
We've got better stories.
We've got better stories, and one of them a lot more serious, and a company that I don't like at all. I'm very cranky today. You might have noticed.
Never so slightly.
TikTok are letting go a whole pile of people here in Ireland.
TikTok employs 2,000 people in Ireland, in Dublin. They're letting go 300 people as part of what they're faming to be a giant reorganisation. Now, a statement from the company read as follows: "We are exploring a reorganisation."
Oh, hang on. Before you start, right?
Yeah.
I've read this, right?
Yeah.
And this is corporate testicles at its finest.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. Here we go. We are exploring a reorganisation to strengthen our global operation model for trust and safety, including proposals to evolve the way we work to ensure teams remain scalable and agile, the creation of hundreds of new specialist roles here in Dublin, and redeployment opportunities, and advancing platform safety through the latest technological innovations.
Now, who exactly said that?
A TikTok spokesperson.
Wouldn't even put their name on it. Oh my God. I'm listening to your words and I'm thinking, breathe that in. That's the kind of thing you only get when you're out in the country.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, right? To me, that sounds like they are pushing more resources into content moderation temporarily. And then once they've reached a certain level of training on the model they're clearly developing, they will start letting more people go.
Yeah.
That's again, training people to be a replacement, only this time it's about content moderation.
It's just sad the way the world is going. TikTok are just the latest. It's not, the other tech companies are just as culpable and they're doing the same thing in their own various ways. CapCut, which is linked in with TikTok, are a horrible company to deal with. Because you pay your subscription if you're going to pay for the app and stuff, for the editing app, which is quite good. But do you get a receipt? Nope. Can you email somebody to get a receipt? Nope. Is there anything on your account where you can get a receipt? Nope. If you need help, can you get any help? Nope. Can you cancel your account? Well, yeah, but you really want to have a degree to go find how you cancel it. It's almost as bad as trying to cancel an account with Adobe. That's how bad it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I'm not a TikTok fan at all. It's also addictive. Are you a TikToker?
No.
As in, do you watch?
I don't. I even keep away from YouTube Shorts. I try to limit my exposure to social media as much as possible because it does fry your brain. It does re-engineer your brain.
Yeah. It's very, very addictive. Anyway, on to good news. Well, good news and bad news. We're talking about electric cars. And it's always good when you get a couple of quid for your old car. And there was a deal on this week with EV cars that went spectacularly well.
Spectacularly well. Yeah, the government announced a €10 million EV scrappage scheme to be administered by the SEAI. Fantastic idea. I remember in the States they called scrappage schemes cash for clunkers, which I really like. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't have something similar on this part of the world by way of branding. It was always just the scrappage scheme. I felt this one was ripe for a brand, but sure, it wasn't even around long enough to come up with one. It lasted 75 minutes. 10 of those minutes, the site was down. So it could have been even faster.
It sold out faster than an Oasis concert, huh?
Yeah, 10 million euro allocated. So it was a grant for, each successful applicant of 5,000 euro, in addition to an existing 3,500 euro EV purchase grant, which you can already get if you're so inclined. There was a limit of 2,000 applications in total, and they were gone like that.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's $5,000 for free.
Yeah.
Why are we surprised?
Well, I mean, it's great. And so long as the local data center doesn't suck up everything in the grid when you go to recharge, you'd be grand.
You'd be grand. Also, a good. I don't even know why this is news, because it comes as no surprise to me. But good news for our good friend and colleague and prominent politician Donald Trump. He's made a few bob from crypto last year, amazingly.
Yeah, the man who doesn't take salary, he presented a 927-page disclosure of his business interests, as is his wont. And apparently he made $2.2 billion last year from real estate, golf resorts, various merchandise licensing deals. I mean, the guy still sells stuff with his name on it. I mean, everything from NFTs to watches to whatever they can think of. We're just not exposed to the marketing for that over here for obvious reasons. But including $1.2 billion from cryptocurrency, split between what he says is some sort of governance thing, which is World Liberty. World Liberty Financial, which is co-owned between the Trumps and Steve Witkoff's children, Steve Witkoff being the Secretary of Commerce, and of course his own meme coin as well, Trump coin, which was released just before his inauguration in 2025. I think there was like 3 days between them. Same day, the Melania coin was launched as well. So, I mean, on paper, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Well done, crypto doing well. Of course, looking closer, this has not been a good year for crypto as a concept, right? I mean, Trump 2 might be gangbusters for people looking to treat crypto in a certain way. If you are looking at crypto as an actual alternative to the global financial order, an actual way to have anonymous transactions, if you're a believer in the mission, unfortunately, Trump 2 has not been good news for you whatsoever. I checked the value of Bitcoin this morning just to see what the overall market has been faring. And we know it's been on the decline, but it was at a high of $125,000, which was just before the election when Trump was campaigning and promising to be the most crypto, the biggest
crypto-friendly administration in the history of all time.
That's it. That almost verbatim, Dusty. Well done. And now the value of Bitcoin is $60,000. It's half what it was. Any gains from the Trump campaign era have long been wiped off. Mm-hmm. The official Trump coin itself has lost 78% of its value. It's a combination of pump and dump and rug pulls. If somebody is looking to curry favor with Trump, you might notice some traffic on the Trump coin, which then mysteriously vanishes. Yeah. That just seems to be how that coin has been operated. It was worth 1.85 billion. Now it's worth 397.8 million. Melania's coin has a market capitalization of $70 million. It's not fantastic either. So meme coins in general, I mean, the party is over on that. They have just seen that market has imploded. I won't go into the specifics of certain coins. So what I did was I went onto Reddit, onto the crypto forums very quickly. And I wanted to see how people were responding to this. I wanted to see, was it sort of a, kind of keep the faith, or I bought in and I got burned, or, I'm a bit disappointed in the administration. And the sense was, it wasn't just I'm disappointed, not just in particular with, I'm disappointed that Trump is making so much money off crypto, something I believe in, whose value at its peak has cratered. And, the level of genuine disappointment and people talking about how much money they've lost on crypto in general. Trump was meant to lend that official stamp of approval to crypto. You might remember he appointed a crypto czar as well, which didn't last very long. And it just seemed all that goodwill has vanished. It is back to being a fringe concern. There's also a massive amount of what they call cold wallets out there, wallets that either aren't being used, or I've read posts of people looking into wallets they haven't used in years and finding coins that lost all of their value. So there's a lot of doom and gloom around. So even though Trump has done very well out of crypto, as with the rest of the financial system, the retail investors like yourself and myself are not going to feel the love.
Okay. So you've had 5 minutes now of being highly negative.
Okay.
Highly negative, if you don't mind me saying so. In the interest of balance, may I get a word in, please?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Firstly, while you're talking about crypto falling in value, it seems to go in a 4-year cycle. And it seems to be following that cycle. So 2 years ago was the height. Now we're at the bottom, I reckon, or somewhere around there. Okay. And I think over the next 2 years, I think it's going to peak again in and around the next American election. And I think we're going to hit peaks again like that, or even higher. That's my belief. All right. So there's one thing. People saying that they've lost a load of money and data and all that kind of stuff. I believe that 85% of crypto in the world is in cold wallets. Just stored offline, no access, people not using it. It's literally like taking cash and putting it under the bed. 85% of Bitcoin like that. People just holding on to it. They're not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Which means that only 15% is actually being traded. And when there's not a lot of it being traded, and it just takes the smallest little thing, and people are getting worried, and of course, all that fear kind of creeps around. And retail investors will go, oh my God, no, I've lost a load of money, I must get out now. Whereas I think more experienced investors will be kind of going, no, it's a 10-year thing for me. I'll just leave it in my cold wallet and see what happens. That's what I think. About Trump, yeah, of course he made a whole lot of money. I mean, he's a gangster. That's the way I see it. And he was massaging the crypto industry, if you like, for his own benefit, and he made a lot of money out of it. But also he did come through with, there's 2 acts coming through that are very important for crypto in the States. One is the Clarity Act, which they're still working on. They don't think it'll be passed before the end of the year, which may be a problem. But they have just passed the Genius Act, all right, which creates a federal framework for stable coins. So there's some kind of legitimacy coming into it then. Then also, speaking of crypto in general, the EU is bringing in its own cryptocurrency that they're working on at the moment, all right? And Visa and MasterCard have joined up with Coinbase, and there's about 140 companies in this altogether. They're launching a global stable coin. I think they're calling it Open Standard or something like that. And it's going to be tied to the value of the US dollar. And I think that's really interesting because you've got Coinbase, which is one of the biggest traders of Bitcoin and other crypto, and Visa and MasterCard involved. I think that will help us get to the micropayment stage of Bitcoin, where you're able to spend, 0.00000000014 of a coin on a Mars bar. All right. And you just do it through your Visa or MasterCard or whatever happens. Because before COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you go into a supermarket and buy an apple for 50 cents and pay for it with a credit card?
No.
Would you do that now?
Oh, so that's standard. You'd pay for it with your phone or your watch.
Exactly. So it's this kind of micro payments thing that we're getting more and more used to. All right. Visa and MasterCard jumping on this and getting into the crypto space. Micro payments with crypto. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of positive things happening with crypto as well as, and everything you said is absolutely right. All right. But I just think it's part of the natural cycle of things. It's like I always say with the stock market, and everyone's going, oh, the AI bubble is going to come and it's going to burst and we're all going to lose our houses and stuff. The market and human society, it needs to go in waves, which means you need to hit a high and then you need to fall and then you go back up and you build a high again. So,
yeah, well, for me, what's fascinating about that is the idea now that you have to peg a cryptocurrency to something else in order for it to be worth anything legitimate. Because as I said about Bitcoin in the past, there's only two kinds of people interested in it: speculators and criminals, and that seems to be borne out. At least with stable coins, it's pegged to something with an actual value. And what's interesting about the current conflict in the Middle East was that under the Memorandum of Understanding, which has yet to be translated into an actual peace deal, but Iran would not be charging tolls for ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. They would be charging a fee
in Bitcoin.
Payable in Bitcoin.
Yeah. I believe at the moment you've got to use Chinese currency.
Yeah, that's true. And,
that's another interesting thing is because what's a threat at the moment in the financial world is the US is seen as kind of like the world currency. It's the one stable currency in the world that everybody kind of relies on. And the talk that I hear about it is that, well, the Chinese are dumping a whole load of their US stocks. This whole thing that's going on with Iran, they're not going to use, what do they call it? The petrodollar is what it's called.
That's
because petrol is always paid in US dollars and they're trying to move away from that. And if you can imagine, if the American dollar is not a staple of the world financial system anymore, that's going to hurt the States real bad.
There'll be a lot of pain to go around.
Anyway, listen, let's get on to another equally gentile and lovely human being, Alex Karp. From Palantir. How did you describe Palantir to me? I love the way you did it. God, it would probably get us sued, to be honest. Okay. Well, don't say it then. All right, great. Anyway, basically, we they're not on our Christmas card list.
Not on our Christmas card list.
Alex Karp was on Squawk Box on CNBC. It didn't go well.
Yeah, that's in my notes. I mean, then that's the polite version.
Yeah.
Alex Karp, of course, the CEO of Palantir, known as an eccentric gentleman, known as someone who has difficulty sitting still, because we saw that in a previous interview he did. And people were like, is this guy on drugs? Like, what's the story?
Yeah.
So I'll just give you a quote from this interview he did on Squawk Box. Squawk Box being a business show, of course, CNBC being NBC's business channel. But anyway, so he went on Squawk Box and he said he was the voice of American business that is being channeled through me.
Oh, so sweet Jesus.
He was trying to say, I kind of agree with an awful lot that he said. But anyway, he was saying, I talk to a lot of people in business. I'm just telling you what they're telling me, right? He put it in quite flowery language, but that's what he meant. He was like, look, I'm talking to people and, what you think is big about AI is not, right? So the way he was talking about AI was that he basically said, the jig is up. Tokenization has failed. It's proving to be more expensive than actually having, people in. If you knew that an LLM, if you knew Anthropic or OpenAI was going to make you $1 billion, their billing model would be totally different. But because you don't know that they can do that, and they don't know that they can do that, they don't believe in their product either. Is the subtext there? You have to look at what they're offering. So Karp says in Palantir, they've got the model, they've got an application layer, and they've got compute. That's what their product consists of, right? And he says that two things make them money. It's the compute power and it's the application layer. So it's the bit that they use and the bit that they add. The actual model themselves, whether it comes from Anthropic or OpenAI or somebody else's, that doesn't make money. It's the other stuff that does. And that speaks to the point that we had earlier about Meta pivoting into business cloud services and XAI making money from Anthropic for its spare compute capacity. So it's not the models that are making you money. I think that's a very important point. He went on to say that these frontier models like Claude, like ChatGPT, they've been oversold, and they're actually, they could lead to very bad decisions for people. And he did have nice things to say about Dario Modi. He said, in private, he's a great person to talk to. But realistically, there's 3 bits involved in an AI business. We make money, and we make money out of 2 of them. One of them does not make us money, and it's probably the most famous of them.
Last story for today is an idea that Steve Jobs, while he was still with us, thought was a terrible idea. And
you love it.
No, actually, no, I don't. I actually agree with Steve. The MacBook Ultra is rumored that it will have a touch screen. I'm confused about this one. All right. Mm-hmm. I think Steve was right. He thought it was a terrible idea. We've had touch screens on laptops for years. All right. So Apple coming along like after all this time and go, whoo, look, they haven't really taken off, have they? Laptops with touch screens.
It's not something I look for.
No, exactly. All right. And it's not something that they sell terribly hard or anything like that. I've had laptops with touch screens and yeah, it's kind of handy, right? They're saying, Mac with its legacy of dealing with artists and creators and stuff like that a touch screen will be great for artists. And that sounds good on the surface, okay? Because at the moment, artists are only able to use like kind of iPad. But if you're going to use video or a photo editing app on the iPad, it's a cut down version of what you would be able to get if you're using a full PC. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that with a MacBook, you can't lay it out flat. The screen is always at an angle. And
so
you try and design something on that. Nah.
This won't be a fold over.
Well, I think if it's going to work, it's going to need to be a fold over. But why bother? I just don't. I've had a fold over with touchscreen and a pen and all that kind of stuff, and I got great crack out of it for 2 weeks, and then kind of.
Yeah, I'm very fond of my laptop with a touchscreen, but it's a laptop I'm fond of that happens to have a touchscreen.
There you go. Grand. So I don't think it's a huge big thing. Anyway, that's the rumor that they are going with, that it should be available later on the year, whatever. Great excuse for pushing the price up. I mean, the cheapest MacBook at the moment is over $2,000. It's $2,250.
No, really?
That's for the 14-inch, right? And do you know how much it is for the 16-inch?
What?
It's an extra, for those 2 inches, all right? It's an extra €1,250.
Do you know what? Just go out and buy a Lenovo ThinkPad.
There you go.
Yeah, they last ages. Yep. You can get them on the pre-loved market. They will be just fine. They are not glamorous machines, but they will work.
The other thing which I am kind of looking forward to in September to see what they do with it is we're expecting, it's summer season, so we're into rumor territory. They're saying that then September we might see the iPhone Fold, which I love the name. If that's what they call it, I think it's just built for it, the iPhone Fold. What will they do with it? Will it be any good? Will it have the crease? Will they get past the crease problem?
Will it have the Riz, Dusty? That's what I want to know.
Oh, they'll give it some riz, all right. But anyway, listen, there we go. That's all the news for this week. Let's wrap it up for there. Niall, as always, thanks for keeping us up to date.
Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland.
With Google ready to unleash a brand new set of smart glasses on the market and Meta well ahead of them, it seems like the time is finally right for augmented reality on our Irish streets. Stephen Barnes is Senior Project Manager and Mixed Reality Lab Lead at the Walton Institute. He had a chat with Niall Kitson at the launch of Deloitte's New Media Playbook report about the history of everything from headsets to smart glasses in all their forms.
Stephen, thanks for taking some time to chat with us today. You were talking about, I suppose, the applications of AR, VR, all the way up to digital twins and virtualization today. However, I think it's really interesting to take a step back and look at that first phase of extended reality, of augmented reality of, I guess 10 years ago now we're looking at.
A little bit longer if we're talking about Google Glass, actually. Yeah, it was... I think the most important thing to look at is if you think of Gartner's adoption scale, where we had the trigger of innovation, then we had a peak of over-promised really expectations, where I think Google Glass probably resides, as we were saying, that has led to what we now see, and what we've seen with augmented reality and virtual reality. Certainly, I've been with the Walton Institute XR team since July 2016, and I've seen the technology come on in leaps and bounds during that time. It is quite almost unfortunate that there were so many expectations prior to the technology being at that level back around 2013, 2014, up to 2016. It was really around 2018 that we saw, not only with virtual reality headsets starting to become lower in price, chipsets were better. The graphic, it wasn't as dependent either on tethered, which was a virtual headset, for example, to be tethered to a graphic processing unit in a high-end PC. All of a sudden, Meta actually, or Oculus at the time, Oculus Quest came out, and all of a sudden we started moving more towards standalone headsets. We still had the likes of Microsoft HoloLens, and the HoloLens 2 was a big improvement. For example, seen companies such as Dacry go out of business, of course. They were another that overpromised, I think, when it came to the technology limitations. What we actually saw, believe it or not, was during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw 7 years of development happened in a 1.5-year cycle, because people were in a position where remote work had to happen due to just societal impacts and just the way society was at that time. So the only way to actually engage was to try VR headset or to have telepresence in terms of collaborations. Another thing that happened was, we had the standalone headsets, but certainly from our standpoint, we saw actually the rise in mobile-based augmented reality, which really has hit a certain point, certainly with the likes of AR Kit by Apple in particular, where you had very good in terms of less drift, less jitter, and people are actually starting to see more stabilized augmented reality experiences. When it comes to VR, very rarely do we actually see at this particular moment in time, despite the likes of Varjo and all showcasing VR's presence, we often see people actually gravitate more towards the Meta Quest. We see hand tracking, finger tracking in particular, is at a level where it's really giving people a real good solid sense of immersion, which has led to increased deployment in terms of training scenarios as well as quality assurance.
I think that's kind of one of the tragedies of the HoloLens, because it did become a very substantial piece of hardware. And just as the applications are really being demonstrated, Microsoft pulled the product.
Yeah, I think, the one thing was, I remember when the HoloLens 1 came out, and of course there was defense contracts and all with the HoloLens 1 from what I was reading at the time. The problem was the field of view for the initial HoloLens was about 35 degrees. It was quite poor. And I know the HoloLens 2 was by no means the finished product. I mean, the hand tracking was it was very good for its time in 2019 when it came out. I know it still wasn't quite at that level. I remember even trying the Magic Leap 2, even though I had a controller about a year later, and just the field of view. And I remember trying a demo at the Magic Leap 2 where there was an entire city placed out, and I couldn't get over the fact that, you know, it was able to, there was very little issue with regards to drift, very few issues with regards to as you move around, that you had like almost like jerky motion, like third derivative of motion happening. It looked great, you know. So I mean, I think it was probably still a case of, and I still see, especially from companies' standpoint, you need a very good reason to put on a headset. I know one of the problems with the HoloLens 2 that people said as well was just the level of occlusion, that you could still see the world around you, but you only had a specific part that had the virtual objects in view. That prevented it from, whereas like a Daiquiri Smart Helmet, for example, that was one that was actually certified to go onto building sites. It didn't have that level, whereas I think it was just whether it was due to polarization filters or not, I'm not entirely sure, but it was a case of the HoloLens, even though they had initial really good contracts there with Trimble, for example, for SketchUp AR, you couldn't actually use it on a lot of sites that way. But I think it is unfortunate because Microsoft really powered the way. But we've actually seen Meta have actually taken up, especially with the Meta Quest 3, for example, where it's a complete XR headset, where you have the AR with the see-through, with the pass-through, and you also have the VR element. And I think that just trumped us a little bit, especially with price too.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I started covering VR, we were still looking at four-figure price tags. Even when HTC came out with their first sort of consumerized version, I think you were still looking at something like €1,500. One of the developments that really caught me kind of off guard, I suppose, was Apple's reinvention of VR, but not VR, in their paradigm of spatial computing.
That's correct. Yeah, the one thing with the Vision Pro was, I guess, that was almost seen as like the next step of like mixed reality, the depth that you get with the HoloLens or with the Magic Leap or Varjo's XR. It was a case of, and that was something in the marketing actually, where the spatial computing came out about a year just beforehand, because we were thinking, finally, we have this almost like a killer app, like a killer device, which is going to be, this will actually set the grounds for us. Something that I remember a company had said to me before, but Microsoft has said, we need someone to spearhead the AR glasses industry, and then we need to come in behind it. Now, what we're seeing instead is we're seeing almost Meta are doing that. Apple really pivoted more towards, think of it as a second monitor, you know, which is similar to we have a holographic lab and a holographic table down in Walton Institute, for example, which we say to people, think of it as a second monitor with depth and perception. And that's really, in a lot of ways, what the Vision Pro is. I think that was probably to try and temper expectations with people as well. I know one of the things we became quite excited about when it came to the Vision Pro was the idea of it actually being with the next generation of iPhone. It's like, well, the next one will have a USB-C adapter, so perhaps it's, instead of having the CompuPack, you just use your phone and you use it in that way, which probably the way it's going to go. We see Meta as well with their push towards glasses. I know Mark Zuckerberg's still on the wagon about that. I do think that when it comes to augmented reality, the best device still is the 2D screens. That will change, of course it will. It has to at some point. I mean, there is a slight paradigm shift more towards headsets, but I think it's just comfort, durability, and most importantly of all, robustness. That still really needs to come to focus.
I think we're in the midst of a new wave of smart glasses at the moment. Meta kicked it off with their fairly ridiculous ones. Snap's CEO, Evan Spiegel, looked even more ridiculous last week with their attempt at it. Google seemed to be doing something quite interesting in terms of design with their Pixel AI glasses.
are people going to be enamored with the technology before they try these things properly? Or, you know, will it be a matter of they actually have to look like a normal human being would wear them before we get the proper uptakes?
Well, to be honest with you, in Walton Institute and in entire EDIH, the European Digital Innovation Hub, I work primarily with companies coming in the door. I can honestly say, hand on heart, it is very difficult to get people to try on headsets if their view is completely occluded. They will. I have seen people actually try on things like, with ourselves, of course, the Microsoft HoloLens 2. With other companies, I've seen people try on X-Real 1s and all, but of course, they're more of a monocle thing. It is something where I think the experience has to be something killer, but there's definitely a reluctance, there's a reticence around the designs at the moment. And I think as much as people love like the Ray-Bans from Meta, you know, where it was basically a Snapchat filter or you know anything like that, to see, oh, this is great, I can order to play my music or anything, it's still quite gimmicky. Whereas I think we're getting closer and closer to the day where you will get that sense of form and function, as well when it comes to VR, for example. Not to pivot that way, but like I can't wait to see the Steam frames. You know, but at the same time, that's like, of course, you know, there's all the chipsets are being used for data centers at the moment, so we're waiting on that. But I think we will see better form. I mean, going back 10 years, I remember trying on the Microsoft HoloLens 1. We still have one in our cabinet down in Walton. I remember nearly breaking my nose more times than I can count because it weighed 879 grams on the bridge of my nose. You know, whereas the HoloLens 2 at least was balanced, and we have seen an improvement. But yeah, I think, and anyone who knows me would never confuse me with a fashionista, but it does have to get form as well as function right, definitely.
I think one of the great apps for AR was Pokemon Go. Really, you know, it's certainly with friends of mine, it got them really excited about AR. And, you know, I'm sure if they knew about Ingress beforehand, they would have been interested in that too. But, you know, will smart glasses need a Pokemon Go?
I think a lot of it might be down to marketing as well, because if you think about wayfinders, if you were able to like stream wayfinders that you're in a country, I'm just thinking, for example, of I was in Brussels there 2 weeks ago, and you know, I'm checking my phone, checking directions, going to certain places, but of course if you're flagging like where's such a place, or like tying it in where it's actually tell me the direction, tell me the distance, time, translating what I'm seeing as well in real time, of course that'll help a great deal in terms of making it like helping the glasses get over that people are using them, but they're using them for a specific reason, and it's actually of benefit to them, and perhaps breaks down as well, say like conversational barriers, cultural barriers or anything, where they're able to say, okay, I need to go to where's my hotel is or anything. It'll tell me the directions. I need to have a meeting at a certain time. For example, here in Dublin, when's the next Lewis going to be? Where's the nearest Green Line? Things like that. I do think like Pokemon Go was phenomenal, and I think it really helped that tied into something that was almost nostalgic at that point as well. And a lot of people who I knew were using it, they weren't children, they were actually adults who grew up with Pokemon. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it had fantastic fantastic physical benefits as well, you know, and I think if they tied in some way to that, it would be great. I do think, though, from my perspective, I think having the everyday apps that, well, what are now considered everyday apps on our phones, such as Maps, such as Trivago, everything like that, TripAdvisor, tying that in and disseminating that information in a way that's easily accessible, that the user experience and the experience flow is very simple, very intuitive, that will probably sell the glasses more.
And that was Stephen Barnes, Senior Project Manager and Mixed Reality Lab Lead at the Walton Institute, chatting with Niall Kitson.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. Do check out some of the other stories that we have on the website for you, including...
Gartner confirms what we already know, that AI is going to become more expensive than human developers. Some big funding wins for researchers at the University of Galway. And Munster Technological University opens applications for a new master's degree in integrated manufacturing engineering.
All of those stories and more online for you right now at techcentral.ie, and do sign up for the newsletter so you get the daily updates. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show for you. Please do remember to share our podcast with a friend. Just tell them to look up Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever they get their podcasts. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, as always, have a great weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.